Climate change is of course something that will take place in the long run, but as of now we are already experiencing what can be described as climate variability. Over years and centuries, farmers and those who depend on the monsoons for their livelihood have developed response and coping mechanisms which enables them to undertake agriculture, livestock rearing and various other livelihoods that are based on nature, like harvesting forest produce, etc. So there was a certain predictability to monsoon behavior, which is the largest determinant of weather conditions in India as well as provisioning of water. Well, now as a result of global warming, we are already experiencing the impacts which we would refer to as climate variability. The anticipated behavior of monsoons, of the rains, of the winds is now no longer corresponding with the patterns that people have come to anticipate and expect as a result of experience over centuries. There's been a clear change in terms of timing, spatial spread, as well as intensity and frequency of rainfall, which obviously has impacts on the agriculture. The crops grown, the cultural practices adopted, the management practices for weeds, for diseases and for pests are all dependent upon an established and regular pattern of rain falling. Now with that no longer corresponding to experienced or expected behavior patterns, the farmers are at a loss as to how to manage. There are certain conditions, certain local agrometeorological conditions in terms of temperature, humidity, wind speed, cloud cover, which determine what pests are going to attack what crops and when. And they also give rise to pests which probably were never seen in those regions. Diseases that are caused which were never planned for, could not be anticipated. For instance, malaria or other diseases that are waterborne. Standing water bodies, for instance, which were never expected during that part of the year. So people are flummoxed in a way, faced with new circumstances, new situations, and you don't have any coping or responsive mechanisms. Because of these local climatic variations being experienced, there's going to be a direct and definite impact on the cropping pattern adopted. What type of crops are to be grown, what management practices to be adopted. All these have to be now addressed. What queers the pitch is, we do not know whether these changes are here for the long term or whether they are just aberrations spreading over a few years. Now, as a result of increase in temperature, which is expected to rise by 1 or 2 degrees, and in some cases they say as much as 4 to 5. Now, while human beings may survive, I mean, the fact is that productive animals, particularly crossbred cows, which are very susceptible to temperature rises, will suffer, not only from increased mortality but declining yield of milk. The dairy industry provides a very stable source of supplementary income to agricultural households. Now in these rain-fed farming systems, livestock play a key role in terms of not only providing income but also providing an insurance and a buffer or a savings in times of distress or emergencies. Sheep are also susceptible to high temperatures. Poultry is also highly susceptible to high temperatures. And of course, as temperature rises, then new pests, new diseases arise, which will also affect animals and livestock. Those are issues that will also have to be handled and addressed. The prediction is that in the next 10 years, 10 to 15 years, we're going to be experiencing high oscillations in terms of the monsoon behavior. Well, this trend, it's expected, will continue in terms of increased rainfall, but for a period of 10 to 15 years, after which it is estimated that we will move into a series of mega or super droughts. In other words, extreme aridity and drought, which will be a more or less permanent state. This interim period of 10 to 15 years between now and then is an indication of a system in disequilibrium. Now one doesn't know what will happen, but areas that are anyway dry now will probably become drier, and areas that are wet could possibly become either wetter or may even experience decline in the overall rainfall patterns. So all in all, this is going to affect seriously not only the quality of life of the people living in there, but also their economic status, as well as the social systems and the social networks they live in. So climate change, or at least climate variability as of now for us, is a huge challenge in terms of life, livelihoods, and the society and civilization we know of in these areas at least.